55. Again, it's 508-924-5155. We invite you to focus on the screen for the Spanish version of the announcement.
Hay una línea telefónica simultánea disponible para las personas que desean escuchar la reunión de la Junta en español. Si desea escuchar la reunión en español, llame al 508-924-5155.
YouTube. Lastly, for recording purposes, the chairman reminds all board members to ensure their microphones are turned on when speaking. Board Member Brown, please lead us in board prayer.
O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all education policies, being ever mindful of your guidance. Steer us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. Amen.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Lopez, please call roll.
Ms. Ayakaye,
Present.
Dr. Anderful,
Present.
Ms. Busser-Strother,
Present.
Mr. Briggs,
Present.
Mrs. Brown,
Here.
Ms. Goins-McCants,
Present.
Dr. Moss,
Present.
Mrs. Olivo, present, Ms. Walker,
Present.
Mr. Jackson.
Here.
There are 10 board members present.
Thank you. A quorum is present. If there is no objection, the September 25th, 2025 meeting agenda will be adopted. There being no objections, the September 25th, 2025 meeting agenda is adopted. Approval of the meeting minutes. Are there any corrections to the August 21st, 2025 business meeting, September 5th, 2025 special business meeting, September 17th, 2025 CIP public hearing, September 18th, 2025 board work session? There being no corrections, the meeting minutes are approved. Please turn your attention to the screen for the PGCPS spotlight.
When you teach a child to read, they can do anything.
The reading strategies and interventions that contributed most to our MCAP success here at Gaywood Elementary were our Lexia intervention as well as our Amplified tutoring. Our Lexia intervention, we ensured that we focus not only on students meeting their minutes provided, but as well as being successful in the lessons that were in the program.
I always explain to the kids as I'm teaching to ask as many questions as they need to, because if it doesn't make sense, no matter how many times you show it to them or explain it to them, they're not going to learn it. So in order for learning to take place, it has to make sense to them.
The main driver was the data. So we definitely looked at the last couple trends from MCAP from previous years and noticed that our kids were losing out on those free points of the type 3 and type 4 questioning, where you have to kind of go into that detail of how you got your answer. So our goal was to change their mindset, and the more they see it, the more they get comfortable with it. And when the teachers are doing their instruction, we're going through, okay, let's look at this question that seems like it is off the wall crazy, and let's just break it down and make it make sense to us.
I had a couple students go from well below to reading on grade level. So it was a really essential factor for me, and it made me feel good as an educator, especially being a new educator. It feels good to see your students grow.
Teachers are more than teachers. They're parents, they're counselors, they're peer mediators. There are many things that teachers have to do to support themselves and their students. You want to be a good teacher or an effective teacher. Which one, when to be an effective teacher, goes the extra step.
So what I like about Mary Harris Mother Jones is it's like a family here.
Here at Mary Harris Mother Jones, we're empowering global learners to impact the world with diversity, respect, and creativity.
That means that you can come from wherever part of the world and you are welcome here at Mother Jones. As a school, we are very diverse. Our student population is mostly Hispanic, around 95%. However, we come from all the Hispanic countries that you can know or imagine.
Well, we're really proud of the gains that we made, 10% overall, and especially in third grade, over 20%. We did a lot of things school-wide in collaborative planning, talking about those focus standards. We also did Twisted Tuesday, which allowed us to provide interventions and enrichment for those students that needed it. And we really just focused overall on teacher growth, preparing the teachers so that then they were able to teach the students.
The secret sauce, I would say team collaborations. Us talking about the students, finding the areas that we need to work on and improve, connecting with other teachers in the classroom to work on the skills that they feel needs, more improvement.
So when they come here, we want them to feel welcome, we want them to feel seen, and we want them to feel heard. So we work together as a family, as a community, to make sure that each one of us is not only receiving academic support, but you're also feeling that you're at home.
I've been in this building for almost 20 years, and so I'm proud to work here. I'm a proud Jaguar, and we worked hard. We deserve this growth.
So we're really excited to celebrate a 20-point increase in our Algebra 1 MCAP scores this year. We saw that increase for a couple of reasons. One, we made sure to schedule students appropriately and test kids who hadn't tested previously. We were lucky to see that those kids who hadn't tested previously had continued with taking advanced math, and so they did really well when it came time to take that Algebra 1 test.
So I think that the reason for the rise in the MCAP scores is due to the hard work and dedication of the mathematics teachers here at Oxon Hill High School.
We also have a partnership with our PTSA that does after-school tutoring for math, so that gave students an opportunity to get additional help. We also, during our advisory period, have tutoring done by our honor societies for math, where kids can get service hours. We do advisory periods every other week on Wednesdays. We call it C-Day, and that allows students to get kind of directed with teachers and peer help as well.
Here at Oxon Hill, the educators, led by the principal, are data-driven, and they use the previous numbers from the data to actually highlight areas that needed to be focused on. The educators were able to provide resources and to curtail or cater the curriculum to be more supportive for our students.
As an alumni of Oxon Hill High School, I graduated with the class of 2000. Seeing students excel with math, show an increase in gains, it makes me really proud. I want to see that continue year over year and make sure they have all the support, our teachers have all the professional development, and students have all the interventions they need to be successful.
The rise in scores makes me feel optimistic and ecstatic. I mean, I'm very happy and pleased with what we have and what we've achieved here at Oxon Hill High School.
Jennifer Gerwig, principal at Montpelier Elementary School. I am so proud of all the staff, students, and community here at Montpelier. We are using small group instruction to really push our students, and we use all staff members, all hands on deck, to ensure that each student has an individual touch daily in a small group. We look at our students and specifically where each individual student is, and we work with our students who can be pushed to the next level. Transparency, communication, alignment all play a huge role at our school. We make sure that we start with a small rock, and we push that small rock to have ripples that continue throughout our whole building. We look at data very specifically and targeted to each of our individual students. During that time when we're analyzing the data, we truly push our small group instruction to meet each individual student's needs, and I think that that is attributed to our gains that we see in our MCAP scores and our benchmark scores throughout the year. Our staff retention is due to the fact that we are very transparent here at Montpelier. We share our SPP goals and make sure that everyone is clear and on the same page, and we collaborate, and we are very transparent about what we are doing and how we are going to move forward as a team. Together, we are achieving and we are pushing our students to be as successful as they can be.
G. James Golson, or professionally General James Golson, is one of the greatest schools, and I'm just saying I'm very honored and pleased to be at this school.
Some of the things that contributed to our school's success in mathematics would be just the motivation that starts at the leadership. Principal Marcus Young brought to General James Golson a spirit of motivation, collaboration and collegiality.
One of the focuses we have is on collaborative conversations, accountable talk. I think the relevance of the material that our curriculum uses this year and last year really allows the kids to see themselves in the text that we're reading, really allowing the kids to have a participatory role in their learning, which helps them to retain that information.
What I'm most proud of is the students' willingness to learn. Like, they are in classrooms thirsting for knowledge and wanting to get good instruction. Of course, we still do have challenges like any other middle school, but just to see people come into this building and say that it's a different culture, different feel, different climate, this makes me most proud, because that is a testament to the hard work of which my staff exudes every day.
A lot of great work going on here at PGCPS. Next, I'd like to move to Dr. Moss for the community shout out.
Thank you so much, Chairman Jackson. It's good to be here tonight. It's also good to have a Suitland school in the building tonight from our Suitland community. Tonight, I'm really excited about Samuel P. Massey that's in the house. Yeah, y'all make some love for Samuel P. Massey. Tonight we're going to recognize some young ladies, but before we do that, I want to make sure we recognize the principal at Samuel P. Massey. When I first met her, I said, "How'd you end up over here?" And she was like, "I love it over here," and kids just started running up on her and loving on her and showing all their love towards her. And so I wanted to make sure I recognized her tonight, but she also flipped the school around in about 24 hours, she and some of her team, to make sure we had a summer program over at Samuel P. Massey. But she's done a lot of work since she took over as principal, and folks in the community are proud. If you know Miss Elsie Jacobs, I think she thinks she's her daughter, and I don't know how that's possible. But I just want to bring her to the front tonight and offer. Yeah, I know. I texted her. I was like, "You are coming." She was like, "I guess." But she is here tonight, and I want to make sure we recognize Principal Brandy Smith in recognition of your outstanding leadership, unwavering dedication, and tireless commitment to fostering academic excellence, student growth, and community engagement. So I'm going to ask you to come up first. Yeah. So I want to also recognize, she's not going to be alone, there are 12 young ladies who are from Samuel P. Massey that have been participating in a program called Girls Speak. And I had the opportunity to visit this program and learn about all the work that they've been doing at Samuel P. Massey. And I wanted to really commend them on their work. And this program called Girls Speak Selfie is really a journey that has built skills in these young ladies focused on self-esteem, engagement, leadership, financial literacy, innovative thinking, and employment readiness. These are all tools that will serve them well as leaders in their school and in their community and beyond. And so tonight, I wanted to make sure we recognize them. They went and had dinner before they came. They all rode a bus up and came over. They got their parents with them tonight. And so I just really want to thank Principal Smith for allowing this program to happen at her school. But there are a lot of other folks who are going to be with them tonight, and I'm going to call their names so it can be etched in the Prince George's County Board meeting minutes. Zamira Medley, if you could come up. Samaya Graham. London Hodgins. Nyla Mina Galvez. Alawasadima I. Odesolo. Joel R. Agama Asina. Drew M. Benabo. Morgan Booz. Navier Esterlin. Kendall Kelson. Emily Padilla. And Kayla J. Simmons. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask their advisors to come up. I come to find out that this program is run by one of my neighbors who lives 2 houses down from me.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask her to come up at this time as well tonight. And I believe we have the community school coordinator and the assistant principal from Massey in the house tonight. So if they'll come down as well.
Sorry about that, boss. Jesus. Don't get too comfortable, board members. Y'all know what time it is. It's shout out time. Where's Dr. Moss? Okay, moving forward. So I want to do chair shout out District 6. At this time, I would like to take a moment to recognize the dedicated team of Prince George's County Board of Education. A lot of times, these are the unsung heroes. Like they do a lot for us, man. They're on call all the time. Early mornings, late nights, like tonight. Making sure that we get what we need to operate at a level of efficiency. So I want to recognize our office staff. So I want to start with Ms. Cindy Adelaide, the Director of the Board of Education. And as I call y'all names, can y'all please, come to the center? I know y'all used to working behind the scenes, but we need y'all on the scene tonight. Miss Rosa Lopez. Miss Tia Johnson. Miss Tanisha Woolridge. Miss Micah McMillan. And Miss Demita Gibson. Oh yeah, and I'm sorry. Miss Mia Barton too. I'm sorry, and she's my admin too. So yeah. Oh yeah, and yours too. Okay, yeah. All right, and also while we have you all up there, we also want to recognize now this team also goes as unsung heroes too. They do a lot of great work. Miss Adelaide. Yeah, you're getting your award. You sit tight. We'll be there in a second. We got you. See, she's always working. I also want to call Miss Dina Thorpes and the Director of Internal Audits to come up to the front. Dina and her team, she's hit the ground running, and I promise you this Internal Audit Office is achieving at standards that we've never seen before. We're so thankful to have her as a part of our team. So I want to recognize her and her team, Ms. Janice Walter-Semple, Ms. Farti Pupalua. Y'all please give me some grace on these names. Theodore Doziminio, Benjamin Hanks, Anthony Neal, Chris Oduye, Alicia Robinson, Isaac Zama, and Shaquana Mitchell. All right, now we can go take a picture, y'all. All right.
Okay. I'm not taking the role right now, and actually, this is my last night taking the role, and I cannot be any more grateful to be here with you. And these 3 years have been of a lot of growth, professional growth, and it has impacted my life tremendously. You have no idea. And welcoming new board members, seeing new chairs, and seeing the level of commitment that you all offer to the community is invaluable. And yes, I couldn't do everything by myself. Obviously, I have an amazing staff and who has my back. And yes, we do stay sometimes very late, that the custodians actually has to kick us out. But it is very gratifying because everything that you see here comes to a fruition. And I cannot be very thankful again for this opportunity. And again, I'm so excited because I am still PGCPS proud, and I am here to support you in any way that I can. Thank you all.
Ms. Lopez and her family can come up right here and take a picture. Okay, moving on to the report of the chairman. On September 19th, 2025, Crossland High School hosted Legislative Day, bringing together members of the legislature, board members, PGCPS leadership, students, and community members to discuss the district key priorities, emphasizing collaboration and transparency. The day reinforced the board's commitment to equity, student success, and creating safe, supportive learning environments for all students. On Saturday, September 20th, 2025, the board held its annual retreat, a valuable opportunity for reflection, planning, and team building. The retreat provided a relaxed and collaborative environment where the board members were able to engage in meaningful discussion and participate in a focused team building exercise. Now at this time, I would like to pause and call for a moment of silence to honor the memory of following PGCPS staff, family, and community members. Tia Rashida Overbay Simmons, Instructional Specialist, Technology, Training Team, Information and Technology Division. Joelle Woodyear, Teacher, Frederick Douglass High School. Melissa Packer, niece of Tanisha Woodridge. Tara Lynn Boy, cousin of Chairman Brandon Jackson. Dakaria Detruti, carpenter, building service, and son of Lisa Howe, Chief Financial Officer. Sheila Marshall, mother of Jarrell Jones, Office of Communication. Thank you. The board informs the public of the following upcoming meetings. Please turn your attention to the screen for the list of meetings. Thank you. Please continue to check the board webpage for updates and more information. Now moving to 11.1, public comment. The chairman recognizes the registered speakers for the public comments. Public comment guidelines for speakers. Tonight, we have allotted 3 minutes to share your remarks. Speaking time may not be transferred to another individual. The board will not engage in dialogue during this portion of the meeting. Speakers are expected to refrain from using profanity, derogatory language. A warning will be issued once. Continued misconduct may result in the speaker being muted or removed from the meeting. To support a professional and courteous environment, speakers are encouraged to refer to individuals by title such as chair, board member, superintendent, or principal, rather than by name. This evening, the board received 8 public comment requests from individuals who wish to speak in person. There were no written or pre-recorded videos. The chairman encourages those who are not able to speak to submit their comments in writing at testimony@pgcps.org. Again, it's testimony@pgcps.org. Our first speaker tonight is Ms. Teresa Smith.
Good evening, board members and administration. I'm here tonight as a parent and a recent participant in the Family Support Center's book study. We read Strengths-Based Parenting, Developing Your Child's Innate Strengths Under Their Parents Are Our Partners initiative. I want to share how meaningful this training was for me and why I believe it was such a valuable investment. This book study was not just about parenting tips, it was about shifting perspective. I learned how to see my children, not just in where they struggle, but for where they shine and how to intentionally nurture those strengths. For example, through this process, I discovered why it's important that my daughter is part of an arts program. She has always been gifted in illustrating, which we could see in the abstract drawings she left on the walls in our home. Instead of being upset about the scribbles, we began to recognize them as artwork. That shift in perspective allowed us to support her talents rather than unintentionally discourage them. I also reflected on my own strengths as a parent. That awareness has made me more confident in how I approach challenges within the schoolhouse and in how I collaborate with my children's teachers. That's why I believe this kind of training is not just for parents, it has the potential to benefit teachers and staff as well. When we understand ourselves, how we naturally lead, how we problem solve, and how we show up in group settings, we are much more effective collaborators. In many ways, it reminded me of tools like the Myers-Briggs personality test, which helps people better understand their work styles and communication. But in this case, the focus was on the strengths, which gave it a very positive and practical angle. I believe this kind of training is especially important when we think about those at the IEP table. Parents and the school team sit together to design individualized programs, and the quality of that collaboration matters. If each of us come to the table knowing our strengths and also recognizing the strengths of the others, we can work as true partners instead of feeling like we are on opposite sides. This type of shift changes the tone of the conversation and ultimately the outcomes for children. For me, this has been an empowering experience. It reminded me that we all bring unique gifts and perspectives, and that those differences are not obstacles, they are assets. I want to thank the district for making this opportunity available to families. It showed a real commitment to supporting parents as partners in education. My hope is that you will continue to invest in opportunities like this and consider expanding them to include our teachers as well. When both families and educators have a shared understanding of strengths, we can build together stronger partnerships. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Smith. Okay, next up is Mr. Timothy Meyer, individual protecting PGCPS families through our legislative agenda.
Thank you. As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, I want to paint a picture of life in my school's community these past several years.
Mr. Meyer, your mic. Thanks.
Sorry, thank you. As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, I want to paint a picture of life in my school's community these past several weeks. Regular profiling and checkpoints. Several times a day, reports of police activity, detentions, people being ripped away. One neighbor was mowing their lawn, taken from their own front yard as kids watched. Just yesterday, as parents were taking kids to school, a viral video of a man being slammed to the ground as an ICE agent pulled a gun on bystanders, and another threatened, "You're next." This is reality in too many communities, especially across District 3. But we don't protect families through words. We protect them through policy. First, there's always pressure on attendance, and attendance is important. But keeping families united matters even more. I've spoken many times about safer routes to school, but safe passage is more than crosswalks or crossing guards. It's also protecting the right of every family to walk their child to and from school without having to look over their shoulder. Any PGCPS policy on attendance must follow updated MSDE guidance, acknowledge the real risks and fears that many families are facing, and treat parents as partners, not criminals. Children cannot learn when families live in fear. Second, Maryland must designate schools as protected sanctuaries, not through advisory memos or tweets, but ironclad statute with the force of state law. And if we're serious about supporting families under the greatest threat, start by delivering the funding they've been promised. Last session in Annapolis, PGCPS English learners faced more than $140 million in cuts. Our lobbying protected that money, but this year we must be firm with our county delegation and the governor. Any cuts to English and multilingual learners, and parents will be ready to show up, sink the entire budget if necessary, and fight for every dollar. The same goes for our community school funding, which faced $100 million in cuts last year. Those dollars help pay for many wraparound services that benefit our immigrant families, including after-school programs and tutoring to help accelerate academic achievement. We support families by properly funding the programs that benefit them most. Finally, for PGCPS, review policies to make sure that our schools are as welcome as possible, easier to volunteer, events open to families, and public areas like playgrounds accessible to bring communities together. We can't fix every problem, but supporting policies that support families is more important than ever. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Shantae Trammell, Friendship Aspire.
Good evening. Oh, okay. Good evening, board. My name is Shantae Trammell, and I'm a proud parent of Friendship Aspire STEM Academy and a graduate of Oxon Hill High School. Last year, my son had a wonderful experience at Friendship. The smaller class sizes, dedicated teachers, and a steady structure made a real difference in his academic growth. Even when the school faced the unexpected departure of the principal, the staff, teachers, and parents came together. We chose Friendship because of its STEM focus. We wanted our son to be in a challenge and inspired by science, technology, engineering, and math, while still receiving a strong foundation in reading and writing. This summer, despite high teacher turnover, I was cautiously optimistic. The new principal and teachers brought fresh energy, and the Jumpstart orientation and communication gave me hope. But weeks into the school year, I'm very concerned. Over 50 families have withdrawn, and many of us have lost confidence in the school's stability, safety, and the quality of education. Curriculum guides arrived 2 weeks late. On the first day, some classes had no teachers and were staffed by parent volunteers and substitutes. My son was involved in an incident at recess that took too long to address. It is a sign that supervision and behavior problems are lacking. Second graders are expected to rotate between 3 teachers for core subjects. And while a self-contained schedule was discussed to reduce loss in instructional time, the plan was paused. It feels like there's a disconnect between the charter and the school leadership, and the students are the ones paying the price. Parents have safety concerns as well. Classrooms without phones, unreliable internet and cell signal, a PA system that doesn't reach the whole building, and no cameras in the hallways. I also discovered that Friendship Aspire STEM Academy is not listed on the Maryland State Department of Education's website. This raises serious questions about legal and operational standing. So I asked, what is the current status of Friendship Aspire STEM Academy and its future plans? When will the county enforce the board policy 3506 for charter oversight? Can the board investigate instruction, time management, and teacher support? And can you ensure that the school gets resources it needs for daily routines and safety? Right now, the parents are filling gaps, but it is not sustainable. We chose Friendship because we believe in its mission. So please take these concerns seriously and help restore the confidence that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Donna Christie, individual, special education staffing plan.
Donna Christie speaking for the Prince George's County Educators Association. Board members, our students deserve a free and appropriate public education delivered by qualified, committed educators. Yet tonight, I am here tonight because of a long-standing failure of leadership. The Director of Special Education has had years, not months, years to address the special education staffing crisis. She has known the vacancies were worsening, and she has done nothing meaningful to prevent them. At the bargaining table, she offered no incentives, no workload relief, and no plan to bring our certified educators back. That failure has now put us under corrective action from MSDE. And now, instead of accountability, they plan to ask you to approve outsourcing, a shortcut that does not solve the problem, because outsourcing is not a solution, it's a surrender. Contractors bring hidden costs, non-compete clauses that lock in vendors, buyout provisions that drain district resources, and a lack of accountability and supervision. They are not answerable to schools or parents in the same way our employees are. They come and go, leaving disruption behind. And help me understand, if a contractor can hire these people, why can't our own human resources department do it? If the vendors have figured out how to attract applicants, why hasn't our leadership done the same? That failure should concern every single one of you. The truth is, we already have certified special educators in this system, but they left those positions because the workload was crushing and the support was non-existent. Incentives and caseload relief could bring them back tomorrow. That is faster, cheaper, and sustainable, unlike outsourcing. Board members, tonight is more than about checking a box for MSDE. It is about whether you will reward years of failed leadership or whether you will demand accountability. When you approve outsourcing, you don't just give away union jobs, you give up control. And you send a message to families that their children's education can be outsourced like a business service. Don't do that. Don't reward failure. Do not surrender our children's future to vendors. Demand real solutions. Bring certified teachers back with incentives and manageable caseloads. Stand with our educators, stand with our families, stand with our students, reject outsourcing, and hold leadership accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Michelle Clark, Special Education Staffing Plan.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to say I read through the full staffing plan, and while the numbers in it are actually pretty good, the problem is the reality, as Dr. Christie just said, we don't have the employees to fulfill those levels. For example, I work at Kenmore Early Childhood Center. I'm a special ed classroom teacher in a co-taught classroom. And while finally pre-K has had 4 staff members back again, first time since COVID, with the exception of 1 class, our 4-year-old classes are not properly staffed. They're self-contained, and I double-checked with a couple of them today. So in one room, there are 10 students with 2 adults. They have been providing a sub to give a little bit of extra help. But in addition to them just being 10 students, they also have 2 wheelchairs and 2 students who have seizure disorders. So if, God forbid, there were ever an emergency and we had to exit the building, if they didn't have the extra person, what would happen? I can't imagine them being able to control their entire class and get those students in wheelchairs out of the building safely. In another class, there were 10 students with 2 adults and 1 wheelchair in that class. So again, you've got issues. There are only so many hands that you've got. 2 people can't hold 10 hands. And most of these students are the type of students who would just wander away or run in the case of an emergency. We need to do better at staffing in our specialty centers and in special education in general. Again, as Dr. Christie stated, when we were negotiating, we could have put some incentives in. I wish my caseload were lower, but I will deal with what I need to deal with because that's what I do and that's what I love to do, and I love my students. But outsourcing jobs is not a solution that is sustainable. I actually had an administrator tell me when I told her that that was a possibility, what kind of people are these companies going to be able to get if they aren't qualified to be a classroom teacher in the school system? So ask yourself that when you're looking at these contracts, and ask yourself what is really best for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shannon Reed.
Good evening. I have prepared remarks, but I'm going to speak extemporaneously just because I feel like talking to you all. I'm a teacher who's been with PGCPS since 2001. All my children have graduated from PGCPS. Tomorrow when I get paid, I will receive $61 more in my paycheck than I did before the raise that was touted as amazing. And I'm grateful for the negotiations team. They work week after week after week after week trying to reach an agreement, and we didn't get there until July. It was beyond frustrating because I was already frustrated. On May 21st, I walked out the school with 12 school days left after a student pushed me out of the way. I was so mad it took everything in me to pull myself back together because it's been years of using my leave trying to manage because there has been so little care and attention to what's going on at the school level. If you had licensed teachers, the kids would pass, and some of the social emotional learning that you see would be fixed immediately. I had students, comprehensive students, who came in with a 3rd grade reading level. The majority of them were on a 3rd, 4th, 5th grade level. This past school year, 75% MCAP pass rate in one class, 66% in another class, 65%. I went and became a reading specialist for the students at Blade, but the principal ran me out of there, and the students at Wise benefited from it. I, as a person of integrity, would never go in a classroom without having the skills. Why would you hire teachers who do not have the skills to teach students with such tremendous needs? It has to be a point where we stop and we hold ourselves accountable and say, guess what? Celebration is important. We should be celebrating the teachers. We celebrate when we should lament. We intrude where we should support, and we ignore what is absolutely obvious. It leaves us with a lack of integrity. This is my next to the last year teaching. I am not leaving because I don't love teaching. I love teaching, but what I'm doing has cost me tremendously. I can't be there for my own children because the overexertion from doing work without the resources takes its toll mentally, physically, socially, emotionally. I am literally in the worst shape of my life. The worst shape of my life. I literally am in the worst shape of my life. You will pay $900,000 to get rid of a superintendent, and guess how much I make to be the PDLT? $24 an hour. That's embarrassing. We have to stand with integrity or we're all going to fail. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Ms. Stephanie Powell.
Good evening, board members. I echo Ms. Reed. So I'm going to try to read just to keep the time. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today. I rise as an individual that wears many hats, such as a lifelong and invested resident of PGC for over 28 years, former parent of PGCPS scholars, former PTA liaison, an education technician and advocate for students and educators, especially our veteran, master, expert, and senior educators who have been stuck at step 21 for an eternity. And we were neglected and frankly abused in this new approved contract. Our senior educators are critical in the function and success of PGCPS system, as they have been the backbone through district freezes and lost steps. In a telehall meeting, intern Superintendent Dr. Joseph shared that educators have a difficult task and it is important that they receive the resources they need to be successful. I think that is accurate. Our senior and master's educators deserve to be highly compensated for the expertise and the task of educating our precious commodities and gems, our student. I would like to share a story that occurred today. In one of my class sessions, one of my students noticed that there was something in my teeth. Yes, it was after lunch, and I had to go and grab my student. Unaware that there were anything wrong, one of my students raised his hands to inform me from his vantage point that there was a piece of my leafy green vegetable from my lunch stuck in my teeth. Shout out to my student, ML, I appreciate it, who respectfully informed me about this mishap. As one of the master and senior Step 21 educators, you pivot and you correct the problem that you were not aware of. I was also excited that my students was empowered to share something that was wrong and needed to be corrected, when most adults would turn a blind eye and stay silent when things are wrong. What is the lesson here? Educators at Step 21 have a vantage point that there is a crisis brewing. They are able to leverage and take their expertise to other school districts in Maryland and other areas where they are in high demand. Our master and senior educators recognize that their expertise, knowledge, and intellectual properties are in demand to support new and novice educators and mentor their colleagues and other educators, demonstrate seamless classroom management, and diffuse situations that would normally get our learners and their student behavior infraction and suspension. Our senior educators are the first to arrive to the school building and the last to leave. However, with this contract, giving us only 4% to 15% decrease is disrespectful, and it is disheartening. We need to make sure that we support our educators so that we can ensure that our students are highly educated. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Next speaker is Miss Teresa Dully.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
First, I'd like to say congratulations to Pamela Boozer Struthers for her award that I saw on the MSDE website. Congratulations, my friend. This morning, I started out my day, I don't know if you could see this, with my green wig on because it was School Spirit Day at Ellen Ochoa Middle School. And I thought I looked cute in it, but I wasn't gonna wear it here tonight. I want to talk about community schools. What is a community school? Community schools promote positive, equitable outcomes by providing students and families with the physical, mental, health, academic, extracurricular supports needed to thrive. Community schools serve as hubs that brings families, communities, and partners together to remove barriers to learning. Using an asset-based approach, community schools strive to strengthen connections to generate improved student outcomes. In Maryland, any school that receives concentration of poverty grants is a community school. Concentrations of poverty grants provide schools with startup funding and permanent per-pupil dollars to launch and sustain community schools. I love teaching at Ellen Ochoa. Our administration and staff are very committed to addressing our students who need additional supports. We are a diverse community of almost 98% first and second generation immigrants. Last year when our school was opened, although the overwhelming majority of our students were eligible for free and reduced lunch from our feeder schools, we did not qualify for Title I resources. This year, we received Title I resources. However, we will not be identified as a community school until next year. According to the AIB, the Accountability and Implementation Board, schools have to be open for 2 years. This means that Ellen Ochoa will not have community schools for a generation of our students. The needs assessment, the hiring of a community schools coordinator, and the training of the staff on the pillars of community schools is part of the implementation process, which will have to wait for 2 years when we know we need it already. Please address this loophole in our policy as data is available so that our students can receive community school supports when schools are opening. It's because we're a new school, and I get that. But our students need the resources now, not in 2 years, because it's going to take a while to do the needs assessment, hire a community schools coordinator, and get the wraparound services in place. Our principal's doing a bang-up job. Shout out to Dr. Dana Doggett. However, I think that as a school system, we need to plug in the hole, in this loophole, a reality for our students. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Written public comments and pre-recorded videos are always available on Diligent. Thank you. Moving to the superintendent, we will recognize Dr. Joseph for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Board Chair. Thank you, Board Chair Jackson, members of the board, and members of the Prince George's County community. Our current strategic plan was developed during the 2020-2021 school year. The last strategic plan was collaboratively written with input from students, families, educators, and community partners. That plan reflects our values, our priorities, and our belief that the best ideas emerge when the district listens deeply to the people we serve. Our current plan was finalized before the Maryland Blueprint for Education became law. That context matters because our plan represents the aspirations of this community as they stood at the time, even before the state codified new long-term requirements. Now in 2025, the landscape is different. Across Maryland, every district is required to have a strategic plan that guides priorities, decision-making, and allocation of resources. We at Prince George's County Public Schools embrace this requirement not as a compliance exercise, but as an opportunity to strengthen our foundation. We remain committed to a strong, community-informed framework, one that is deeply aligned with the blueprint while still honoring the unique identity of Prince George's County. Our next steps in the process are as follows. On October 1st, we will launch our system-wide climate and culture survey, which will run through the end of the month. This survey will allow us to understand how students, staff, and families experience safety, belonging, engagement, and trust across their district. The data we gather will serve as both a mirror and a compass. It will help us identify needs and strengths, set new priorities, and establish measurable goals that we can track over time. As we move forward, stakeholder engagement will remain central. This fall and next spring, we will engage our students, staff, families in intentional conversations. The survey results will ground these discussions in data, but it is the voice of our people that will bring them to life. Focus groups with students, staff, and families will provide deeper insight into their experiences and priorities, ensuring our plan is not only evidence-based, but also human-centered. At the same time, we will engage each of you in one-on-one conversations and collectively to create our vision, mission, core values, and approve our key performance indicators for the new strategic plan. Your perspectives are critical in shaping the next 5-year strategic plan. Together, we must ensure that the plan reflects both the lived realities of our community and our future state. Our charge is to create a roadmap for the next 5 years that builds on our past, aligns with the blueprint, and dares to envision a brighter future for every child in Prince George's County. We're not simply updating a document, we are recommitting ourselves to a promise that our schools will be places where every child feels safe, every staff member feels supported, and every family feels engaged in the work of preparing children for limitless futures. That's the work that's ahead of us, and I'm committed that we will chart our next chapter with a spirit of shared ownership, accountability, and hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Now moving to the report of the committees. The board chair recognizes Dr. Tiffany Anderfull from the Audit Committee.
Thank you, Chair Jackson. This evening, I'll be sharing an introduction of committee members and our charge for the school year. The Board Audit Committee is committed to providing oversight of the financial reporting process, the audit process, the PGCPS system of internal controls, and compliance with applicable laws and regulations. The work plan for this year has been linked, and the committee generally meets monthly on Mondays at 6:00 p.m. unless otherwise noted. This year, the Board Audit Committee includes myself as committee chair. I'm pleased to have Board Member Boozer Struther. Oh, is she there? Oh, I didn't see Board Member Boozer Struther as committee vice chair. Chair Jackson, Dr. Felton Moss, Ms. Dina Thorpe, our internal audit director, and our superintendent's designee, Chief Howell. The Prince George's County Board of Education Audit Committee is responsible for overseeing key aspects of the school system's financial activities and performance. Its specific responsibilities include monitoring financial reporting, internal controls, risk assessment, overseeing the work of independent and internal auditors, ensuring compliance with ethics and legal requirements, following up on recommendations and action items from internal and external audits that PGCPS administration has agreed to implement. The committee also maintains vigilance in the following areas: resolution of prior internal control issues, complex accounting and reporting matters and management responses, ongoing internal and external audits, as well as significant accounting policies, judgments, and management estimates affecting financial statements. On behalf of the committee, we thank you all for your continued support and commitment. We hope to see you at Board Audit Committee meetings this year. Thank you. That concludes my report, Chair Jackson.
Thank you. Board Member Moss, Policy and Governance.
Thank you, Chair Jackson. I'm delivering the Policy and Governance Committee report. I just want to name that we successfully held a legislative day this past Friday at Croston High School. The chair referenced that, where we brought together our delegates and senators who represent us in Annapolis to lay out our 4 priorities for the upcoming year. So we're excited to continue working with them as they put forth measures for this session in the spring. The Policy and Governance Committee tonight is respectfully recommending the following policies to the full Board of Education for final consideration, both regarding enactment and rescission. The policies that are recommended for enactment tonight include the use of social media and personal electronic devices, Policy 3000, Business, Policy 3323, Purchasing, Policy 9354, Board Members Vouchered Reimbursement Expenses. That new policy is 8103, Policy 5011, Home and Hospital Teaching, Policy 8100, Board of Education Standing Committees and Focus Work Groups. The policies that we are recommending to be rescinded tonight are policies 1114, Newspaper Advertising, Policy 1116, Information Packet, Policy 2483.1, Notification of Board of Education Policies, Policy 511.4, Sibling Enrollment, Policy 8350, the numbering and indexing of board actions, and then Policy 9140, the Citizens Advisory Committees. The board would like to thank you for your continued support and consideration of these recommendations.
Thank you, Board Chair. If there is no objection, the board shall accept the committee's report and recommendations. All right, hearing is there no objection, the recommendations are approved. Moving to OBAFA, the chair recognizes Board Member Goins McCants.
Thank you, Chair Jackson. The Operations, Budget, and Fiscal Affairs Committee, on behalf of the Board of Education, is charged with reviewing issues related to school system operations, budget, and fiscal affairs. The committee is also responsible for reviewing issues related to the management and audit of functions in the Prince George's County Public Schools, reviewing and providing recommendations regarding fiscal, capital, and human resources, including the board's operating budget, the capital improvement plan, staffing plans, and allocations. The Operations, Budget, and Fiscal Affairs Committee members and administration representatives are as follows. Myself, Zakia Goins McCants, as chair, Robin Brown, vice chair, Dr. Tiffany Anderful, Lolita E. Walker, Ariel Lua Ajakaye, Brandon Jackson, as ex officio member, Dr. Sharaska Coleman, Chief Operations Officer, Mrs. Lisa Howell, Chief Financial Officer. Beginning August 25th and ending in June 2026, the committee plans to review and discuss the following: capital improvement plans and updates, blueprint schools program updates, building services maintenance plan updates, safety and security updates, sustainability and resiliency update, transportation updates, revenues, expenditures, and budgetary matters and updates, as well as procurement updates. On Diligent, you can find our tentative non-binding work plan, and it includes the anticipated dates for every discussion topic of the year. Thank you so much for this time.
Thank you, Board Member Goins McCants. Moving on to the presentation, the chairman recognizes Dr. Joseph for the transportation update.
Thank you, and at this time I'll turn it over to Dr. Coleman, Chief Operating Officer.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Good evening, Board Chair Jackson, Vice Chair Briggs, board members, staff, and members of the public. Thank you for this opportunity to provide an update on our Transportation Action Plan. My name is Sharaska Coleman, and I have the privilege of serving as the Chief Operating Officer for the Prince George's County Public School System. We will also hear from our Director of Transportation and Central Garage, Mr. Keeble Baldwin, Senior Human Resources Partner, Mr. Curtis Eugene, and the Chief of Monitoring and Accountability, Dr. Douglas Strader. Our presentation has 3 areas of focus. First, we will review the progress made since the independent transportation audit was completed in school year 2023-24, looking specifically at the data aligned to the 5 prioritized recommendations implemented last school year. Second, we will discuss the core and current challenges we're still working to address. And third, we will introduce the strategic actions being implemented as phase 2 of our improvement plan. This school year, we are continuing to focus on improving system reliability, on-time performance, communication with families, and safety. As you may recall, phase 1 of our action plan focused on the 5 prioritized recommendations that you see projected. We are continuing to refine these recommendations this school year, even as we build in additional improvements. At this time, Director Baldwin will review our progress since the audit and discuss the challenges we continue to face.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. Since the October 2023 audit, we've seen tangible efficiency gains. Trips per bus increased from 5.3 to 6.3. Seat utilization rose nearly 4%. We've consolidated approximately 3,000 stops, cutting inefficiencies and ride times. Our bell time imbalance dropped from 432 to 69. We've added more vehicles and drivers. This data is clearly aligned to the 5 recommendations as what Dr. Coleman just mentioned. Our core and our current challenges and our realities. Challenges still remain. We still face over 148 FTE vacancies, which means double backs and combinations are required daily. This directly impacts our on-time performance and creates understandable frustration for our families. On the communication side, our call volume tells the story. On the first day of school, our call center received more than 6,000 calls. By the 5th day, that number dropped to about 2,600. By the 10th day, it decreased further to around 1,200. While this shows a clear downward trend, it still represents a heavy lift for our staff to handle all the calls. Our parents are also asking for real-time, trip-specific data and communication. Our MVP request continues to grow. As an example, we face today just a scenario at Hyattsville Elementary of late buses due to the extra work to uncovered runs that were where the bus was an hour late. As a result, we had our team develop an action plan to help mitigate the problem to be able to solve that problem with a staff member dedicated to doing this trip until a permanent driver has been assigned. In addition, we're strengthening our communication by double-checking all assignments with our dispatch unit to ensure that what we say to our families is true and actual. At the heart of these challenges are still our 2 pillars, operations and staffing. To make progress, transportation cannot do this alone. This is where our partnership with our human resources partners become critical. At this time, I'll transition to highlight how HR has stepped to support our recruiting efforts.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Curtis Eugene. And once again, I am the Senior Human Resources Partner over the Office of Education Support Professionals within Talent Acquisition and Management. So while we do continue to employ a variety of recruitment tactics and strategies to fill vacant positions, such as hosting ongoing in-person and virtual hiring events and advertising widely through social media, digital ads, radio, and the community to recruit new drivers. I've actually seen several of the board members here at these events, and I thank you for serving as brand ambassadors, and I ask you to continue your advocacy on behalf of PGCPS. There have been several enhancements and strategies deployed since we last presented, and they include the following. An actual recruitment office, the recruitment office has assigned a dedicated recruiter to specifically target and support transportation hiring efforts. This has been invaluable in expanding our outreach into non-traditional sections of the community. We've collaborated with the communications office on a weekly basis to strategically target campaigns to support bus driver recruitment. To minimize out-of-pocket expenses for Maryland bus driver applicants, PGCPS is now authorized to receive free driving records, so no fee or MVA visit is required by candidates who apply for the position. This has allowed us to expedite the determination of which candidates are eligible for the position, and we're also looking to expand to Virginia and District of Columbia applicants as well. We've streamlined the transportation recruitment and hiring events and launched a groundbreaking internal recruitment initiatives to attract current PGCPS staff with scheduling flexibility to serve as bus drivers and attendants in a non-primary assignment duty. We also transitioned to the frontline platform for bus driver and bus attendant applicants to improve transparency, efficiency, and communication in the candidate pipeline. As you can see, since we launched on August 1st, we've had 260 applications submitted for the bus driver position. Unfortunately, 155% of those candidates were deemed ineligible by not meeting the qualification for a bus driver position per the Code of Maryland Regulations, or COMAR. The great news is that over 55 of them are currently in the pipeline and moving forward in the onboarding process. And for candidates interested in becoming a trainee, we've had over 343 individuals that have applied. While 78% or 78 or 23% of them have not been eligible, 218 are currently in the pipeline. And lastly, with the ratification of the new negotiated agreement with PGCPS and ASME Local 2250, there is a commitment to increase salaries over the next 4 years for the education support professionals, which includes certified bus drivers, so that we can continue to attract and retain drivers to our district.
So good evening. Regarding enrollment, to summarize, Prince George's County Public Schools registers more than 10,000 new students every year. We are currently in enrollment of 131,500 students, with over 89,000 of those students needing transportation. This year was much better than last year. This was year 2 of the implementation of Synergy, and things ran much more smoothly thanks to the greater collaboration between the offices included here, including pupil accounting, IT, specialty programs, special education, Office of Transportation, Communications Office, as well as our schools. Again, it was a much more efficient process this year. There was a much greater focus on trainings, as well as data validations, as again, we were migrating through our student information systems. But in the spirit of continuous improvement, we look forward to next year of implementing some new models. But the one most important thing that happened this year that I wish to share with the board, and thanks again to the communications office, we had more students enroll earlier in the summer, and that was key. That allowed more time for our schools to get our students registered, get them enrolled, and get the transportations assigned to those students. So that was an incredible trend. I hope to maintain that going into next year, and I look forward to bringing the next report next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schrader. Phase 2 is focused on the continued improvement of our transportation system through continued implementation of the Phase 1 and to expand our improvement efforts in several key areas. We're diversifying our modal mix by adding more vans and alternative options for our MVP families and our specialty needs. We are refining stops, our walk zones through continued audits. We're making targeted bail time adjustments. As an example, we were able to make a bail time adjustments with Brandywine Elementary School this year. And we're strengthening our cross-functional teamwork, such as Dr. Schrader has mentioned, focused on faster student registration, confirming specialty program codes, strategic staffing, and integrating our technology. A major step forward will be our technology. Bus Planner will allow full trip tracking, As of now, when a driver is absent, we substitute or combine trips. Those trips aren't always visible in our system or to our families. That creates the gaps in accountability and communication. With Bus Planner, every trip, regular or substituted, will be logged, tracked, and visible. The advantage is twofold. Internally, it gives us complete, accountable data to manage on-time performance and efficiency. Externally, it lays the foundation for our families to finally see reliable trip information in real time. That's where the Chipmunk comes in. Already downloaded more than 8,000 subscribers, Chipmunk will give our families a tool they can trust. Today, we're using the Bus Planner application that supports Chipmunk for rosters, our trip sheets, and user guides. Bus Planner and the Chipmunk app represent a turning point, accountability for us, and transparency for our families. In closing, we've made some real progress. Better efficiency, higher seat utilization, more stability, but challenges still remain with staffing and timeliness. Phase 2 is designed to meet those challenges head on with our partners in HR, information technology, and data accountability as co-owners of the solutions. Thank you. Now we're welcome to our questions. And again, we've attached an appendix that contains supporting data on our routes, trips, and our utilization trends. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, now we'll open up for questions. I just want to remind everyone that we have 2 minutes and 30 seconds for the question and response. So the first member I do have, I see Board Member Robin Brown, District 5.
Thank you so much, Chair Jackson. So I wanted to talk about the walk zone audit and the enhanced customer service. Did you all get your information because of a traffic zone or a walking audit that was done by the state in order to figure out what are the best? Because I do receive emails from constituents, primarily regarding Church Road, which a lot of us know can be a somewhat of a dangerous road, and their children do have to walk towards those areas. So I was wondering where you all got the audit from.
So the walk zone audit was something that is kind of an assessment. We've used what was predated as the non-transportation zone, is how we name it. And what we have been doing is assessing safe passage within those areas. And so we have been utilizing a federal a NHTSA document as a reference to determine bus stops, safe passage, and routes available. And so that's the continued work now with our walk zones.
Okay, I would just encourage you all, if it's a state highway, to definitely make sure that you inquire with the state for them to also get a traffic audit on that to make sure that our children are safe. The other question that I had is on slide 5. We talked about a declination of the phone calls, but you guys did not address any of the emails. Have those declined as well? And what is the best way for families to reach you all?
So still the emails, the TR system is the best mode because it gives us a tracking mechanism that we can do follow-up and review. What we typically happen in the course of the year is that they will call, they will email, and put information into the TRS. Okay. And so the team tries to separate and get rid of the duplicates, yep. But the best mode is really the TRS system.
Excellent. The last question I have is that you all discussed core challenges, realities, vacant trips, double backs. Have those families been alerted of the challenges?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes your questions. Thank you so much, Board Member Brown. Next, I have Board Member Amy Olivo.
Thank you, Chair Jackson. My first question is, what does MVP stand for in MVP growth?
This is our McKinney-Vento family.
Great, thank you very much. Second, I wanted to ask about stop consolidation, and obviously huge progress has been made on that. I think that there is a lot more progress to be made, and one thing that I did want to raise is the average home to stop distance of 0.27 miles versus us asking our walk zone children to be walking between 1.5 and 2 miles. I'm not suggesting that bus stops should necessarily be 2 miles from home, but I think that that is a pretty huge discrepancy. I wondered if there is already work right now happening to consolidate stops for next year, and if by chance the actual bus drivers and/or families are being asked to weigh in on that.
So just a point of consideration for us.
Okay.
We noticed that when the report was delivered to us, and what was decided was that we would take a modest approach. So on average, the walk to stop was at that point 2.7 miles. That was K-12. And so what we were tasked with was trying to get us to a halfway point. We know the detrimental points of an elementary student walking 1.5 miles. That's not something that we would purposely assign. But we wanted to bring everybody up to the 0.5 as close as possible. So it was a modest change to move folks to this measure. But we would not be working toward the 1.5 miles for elementary or the 2 miles for secondary.
And if I could just add, it's an ongoing process. That's why we talk about implementing or continuing to refine Phase 1 recommendations into the second year, because we have so many bus stops, there are tens of thousands of them, that we have to consider the safety of students even as we look at the oversubscription of bus stops that we have across our district.
Thank you. Just really quickly, in the slide 7 where you look at the frontline application, are there one or two things you could tell us that are in COMAR regulations stopping people from making it from the gray to the green that we could potentially ask the state to address?
So for example, one of those examples would be if somebody has a DUI or DWI at any point in their life, there is no sunset period for that. So that's not something if you were 17 or if you were 18 or 19 at the time and now you're 52 and you had a DUI or DWI, you would not be eligible for it. Also, if you have more than 3 points, you would not be eligible for it. So those are some examples.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Anderful?
Yes, good evening. Hello, or is it evening? Good night. So just had a few, well, actually, let me just start by saying thank you. I know this is a huge undertaking. I know you all are working around the clock. I did want to quickly acknowledge a few people. So I know Jason Richardson has been extremely helpful, your transportation supervisor. He's been extremely responsive, and so appreciate his support, as well as you, Director Baldwin. I've seen you on several chains at this point. I have been included on more emails than you can imagine in District 1 specifically. I could list a host of schools from Vansville Elementary, Duval, you know, and I have to note Robert Goddard Montessori. There are just, I can't even tell you how many that I've received. And so that is what's bringing me to some of the questions that I have today. So I understand that, you know, you're referencing today Phase 2, assuming we're in Phase 2 right now, correct?
Correct.
Okay, we're in Phase 2. So I'm wondering, how are we actually monitoring and evaluating trip durations? I see the slide that you have here, it's not numbered, where you're noting a snapshot from June of 2025. I'm also seeing you say that you're unable to properly track trip times and delays because of some issues, right, with our tracking systems. So how are we monitoring, evaluating trip durations? And then my second question is, what's the process for actually getting action plans created for routes? I heard you mention that was done with Hyattsville Elementary. There's a specific bus route 469 for Robert Goddard that is interested in one. I've received several suggestions from parents about how students could go to alternative routes. So I'm wondering how you actually go about creating action plans and the consideration of consolidating stops.
So with the action plans right now, we develop them case by case. Many are as a result of the driver shortage. And so we are looking at the status of the bus in terms of the ridership, who's riding, where they're located. what are some of these short-term fixes? And that's primarily what these action plans are, because the long-term plan is really putting a body in place for them. And so as it develops and as we get the messages, we develop the plans and we work it case by case. Right now where we are, we're ending this period where enrollment is stabilizing. So we're able to refine our trips now because we have a steady membership riding the bus. So we can then work to try to make situations a little easier now. So we'll take a look at your 469, Robert Goddard.
And if I could also just add, as in addition to that refinement of bus stops, we also have to dial in the duration of trips so that drivers are compensated accurately for the amount of time that they're driving. And so that's a part of that process that goes along. Even as we're looking at the trips, we're also looking at the duration so that the pay and also so that we can look at longer rides that may need to be broken up.
Right. Like real quick, we have a standard, we have a parameter for what we use for comprehensive rides and our specialty rides. The problem with that now is the shortage, because we're having to put more kids on buses, and because we're doubling, those times are not always as accurate. But we do have a parameter that we follow that we try to stay under, but we're realizing now we can work on that. I got you.
Thank you. Next up, Board Member Walker.
Hey guys, thank you so much. I just have 3 short questions. The first is around the Chipmunk rollout. I know that we're starting with a special population. I was just wondering, because you did say that you charted the number of subscribers for Chipmunk, and so I was just hoping for the first question you can just answer. When is our next planned rollout, and then are you taking the learnings from the first rollout for the second?
Next week, we're going to roll out 3 new letters, C, X, and T. That's the Crossland, Douglas, and Surrattsville bus lots.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll be good to, yeah, we should get that communication so we can get that out. I'm excited about it.
Board member, to add to that, we are consistently every other week rolling out additional bus slots so that by the time we get to Halloween at the end of October, we will have all of our bus slots, specialty routes in Chipmunk. And then beginning November, we're going to transition to our comprehensive routes and roll them out 2 or 3 lots at a time, so that by the time we get to winter break, all of our families will be in Chipmunk.
Oh, excellent. Is that on the transportation website?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Not just the current rollout with our specialty runs. We will transition over to the comprehensive routes in November. That makes sense?
No.
No.
So I thought we were leaving from, you just gave me 3 lots, some of which are in District 9. So let's say the Douglas lot, that's starting next week, only
Yes.
is it for comprehensive?
No, just the specialties.
Oh, okay.
Those routes that begin with letters.
Oh, okay, so that's
the
not.
3-digit numbers.
Got it, thank you so much. With my remaining time, because I don't want to do a second round, I'm just going to give you the other 2 and you can send them to me. We received requests thus far to shift bus stops so far. I know that we don't do that within the first 4 weeks, notably, and so I was just wondering if what the plan is in order to start taking a look at those audits or anything like that. If we had timing on that, I'm happy to help to get that out. And then the third is, some parents are concerned about substitute buses, and I know you just said, I just wanted to make sure that I heard that correctly. The concern is that the buses are not tracking their scholars when they're substitute buses, but I think I heard you say in Chipmunk there is the ability to do that. Can you confirm?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you. So you just have to get that second question to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Ari Ajakaye.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for putting together this wonderful presentation. My first question is from slide 4, just to get like a general understanding of the data. Are we experiencing bus overcrowding? Because it says there that we have like seat utilization up by 4%.
Right. So what that means is those are planned student riders. So that number has risen. So that means that's the opportunity for more students have requested to be on the bus. Actuals right now, this is part of this balancing stage. We have had overcrowded buses. Those are a protocol that we work on by, we get information from the driver, and then we will put some type of solution in place to ease that overcrowding.
And if I could just add to that, this is all based on the baseline data from the initial audit, and what the initial audit showed us in 2023 is that we had buses that were being underutilized across the district. And so to become more efficient, it made more sense to add student riders to each of those, as many as we could, so that we were better utilizing the resources that we had. And so it doesn't result in necessarily overcrowding across the district, but we're better utilizing the buses that we do have on the roads.
Right.
Thank you. And then my next question is also on slide 4. So does reducing the inefficiencies in the amount of stops increase the distance that students have to walk from, their stops to their homes? Because now we're decreasing the amount of stops that are there.
So by decreasing the stops, that is primarily shortens the bus ride. The walk to stops, we are marginalizing that to keep no longer than roughly half a mile. Because the audit showed that folks were on average walking 0.24 miles to stop.
And then my last question for this session, what is being done to make sure that the outbounds or the PM trips arrive on time? Because I saw on slide 13 that about 39, I believe, were not arriving on time. And then students need to get home on time to participate in their family activities, do their homework. So, what's being done to make sure that they're getting home on time?
That's a great question. What's different from the AM and the PM is that there's no flexibility. So if we start with our first tier and we're able to take kids home, any extra routes are doubled. So now that cuts the ride time down to get to the next tier. So you have a cascading effect where it may be a 10-minute delay from the first tier, between the first tier and the second tier, and then that may double to 20 minutes between the second tier and the third tier because they're having to double extra runs to take additional students home.
And Board Chair, if I could, just for a moment, just to give an example of that in real time, Director Baldwin and I went to a bus stop this morning at 6:30 to observe what was happening, right? And we asked each driver that was coming, this was in the Cool Spring area, Langley Park and Cherokee Lane, and we were able to see that the drivers came through, picked up High Point first, was able to get the students to High Point on time, come back, pick up for Cherokee Lane, Cool Spring, Langley Park, and then get them to school on time, all by 7:30. But in the afternoon, when they dismiss at the same time, they can't double up. You have to be at one place, and then the folks who are after them have to wait until they finish that first route to pick up the next group. And so the tardiness is greater in the afternoon because you can't get a head start like you can in the morning.
Board Member Goins-McCants.
Thank you, Chair Jackson, and thank you all so much for this presentation, especially the update on the number of students that we have that we are actually providing transportation for. Someone gave me the stats, I believe it was last week, on how even though, I don't know, we might be 20th now in the country in terms of size of our school district, probably a higher number than that now, but at almost 90,000 kids, we have one of the largest bused populations in the country, that I don't think we talk about that enough in terms of how we are literally leading the country in terms of how we figure out these things. With that being said, I have two questions. Just one, I'm wondering, when we have those action plans for these bus routes, what is the communications plans with families? For example, you mentioned Hyattsville today. The families affected by that bus route, how are they notified? Are they able to give feedback? How does that work?
So 2 modes of information feedback. We use our school messenger system, and then we use the Current Parent app where we can push notifications for those parents that have downloaded that app. In addition, that same message goes to the school administration, in which they can use it if they have other alternative communication systems like Dojo or any other system that may use. So tag teaming with the school, and then utilizing School Messenger and the Parents app, we're able to push that information out.
Thank you. Were you going to add something else?
Yeah, and we have actually, for the Stop Finder app, trying out a two-way messaging. So that is something that the parents that have the app, they are able to send us a message, and I have folks working who are sending messages back. So if you're at the bus lot or at your bus stop and looking for the bus, you can send a text message, and we'll respond in that manner as well. And that will be a function in the Chipmunk app.
So I'll put my two questions together. The first one, as a follow-up to that, how are we doing in terms of the amount of staffing we have allocated to respond to transportation questions, be it that two-way, the phones, emails? And then my other question is about the audit, especially the walk zone. Are we continuously re-auditing those routes or looking at the safety of those routes, or are we waiting for, somebody to say, hey, can you check this place?
So staffing, we're still building the staffing. We're asking staff, a lot of the staffs are doing double the work to do this right now as we're building more staffing from that standpoint. As far as the auditing of the routes, a lot of the routes and the stops this year, a lot were the same as last year. It's just directionally on how we're getting to those stops because of the locations of students. And so a lot right now, it is reactive because parents are sending information to us to investigate stops. But realistically, those are good stops in that sense. But we are honoring the reviews just to make sure that we get it right. And so it is appreciative that they are using the TRS system to let us know. We will take a look at it.
And Board Member Goins-McCants, just to clarify a couple points. One, Director Baldwin has used the increased communication staff that we have and allotted one communication staff member for each of our 12 bus lots. So they are embedded with the team at each lot and work with the foreman to send out the messenger communications, the stop finder communications that we discussed. Secondly, with respect to the assessment of walk zones, Director Baldwin is also working closer with the safe passage coordinators, that when those calls for concern come in, that they are assessing those stops and giving feedback to the transportation team and the families around what the next steps need to be based on the assessments.
Thank you. Board Member Briggs. Vice Chair Briggs, excuse me.
Thanks so much, Chair Jackson, and thanks so much to the transportation team for the presentation. I wanted to just take a moment because I know that you all have been hard at work and you've made that really clear in this presentation to address, one, the phase-in of the transportation rollout, but I think also just the responsiveness to the community. One of the things that I got from a community member, and this is actually not a school in my district, but this is in response to the on-time performance. So my question is, can you demystify why some of the parents in schools, in districts, in the county, are having issues with seeing buses at all during the first couple of weeks of school? And then do you have any updates on where we are at the beginning of the year until now to see if any progress has been made? And I want to just clarify that really quickly. There was a family, actually, I think a father and a mother that reached out. They're two completely different families, about the buses not arriving at all and them being at the stop. At this point, this person's very frustrated. And so I just want to give an opportunity for the transportation team to address like what could be happening and why.
Understood. So, a couple things. One is the bus is actually getting to the stop much later, and the parents have pretty much said, I'm done, I'm gonna take my kid to school, and the bus will show. That's where the messaging comes into place, and we want to strengthen that messaging to allow parents the choice that if the bus is going to be late and given a range of time, we can share that. We try really hard to show up for every stop. I can't say we're going to show up for every stop on time, but that's where the communication comes in that we want to give. But we have put a directive out. We go by every stop.
Okay, so and I think I heard you saying that the Bus Planner app is going to address some of those concerns so that families won't wait in the rain or in the cold, or when it starts to get dark earlier, they're not going to be waiting without any kind of context.
Yes.
And then, is there a process where bus drivers for the frontline applications that don't meet standards are provided with alternative paths, as I say perhaps the trainee pathway, or specific steps that they can take to become a bus driver in PG County?
So if an individual does not meet the requirements to be a bus driver at all, then really at that point, there may be the potential for them to actually transition into a transportation attendant role. And so we do offer that to those individuals. But if it's a matter that they do not meet, they do not have the CDL or the CDL learners, upon obtaining the CDL learners, we do have the paid training program here where we actually pay individuals to come in. We actually have a CDL learners class, which is a one-day class to help prepare them to get the learners. And then once they transition into the 6 to 8 week program, they actually then are successfully able to become a certified bus driver. So even if initially somebody is not able to be a bus driver, as long as it's not something prohibitive, we do have a pathway for them to actually become a bus driver.
Okay, that's good to hear. And then my last question was, how have you used last year's data? So I noticed through the report, it was helpful to see the data from last year. But I'm just curious, how have you used last year's data to inform improvements for this year? And then based on what you identified as key issue areas from last year, what progress has been made to improve it? I know there were some issues that I've heard this year that seem to have been reflected from last year. So I'm just curious what steps you've taken to close the gaps in any challenges we had
To
last year.
best be able to respond, would you mind just offering like one or two of those, what those thoughts or suggestions where you said that you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the stops is one. So we had that challenge at the beginning of the school year last year, and then I think also just the bail time piece. I know you all talked about buses getting better at getting to school on time in the AM, but the PM seems to be an issue still.
Right, right. So operational challenges, the seat utilization, the trip utilization, those are operational things that we've seen internally. The biggest gains still remain with staffing. And so that's everything that we're working with, and what was reported out is based on planned data. And what we want to move to is actually being able to capture some of the actual data so that we can actually make that data more accurate for us. And so in terms of ridership, if we are saying that we are transporting 90,000 students, we want to say and verify that we are transporting 90,000 students. That's the transition that we're working toward, and with the addition of bringing in the new application, new routing system, that gives us a step closer to achieving that actuality.
And if I could add to that, you know, Dr. Joseph has talked a lot about the need for transparency and the use of dashboards to transmit that transparency. And so on-time arrival is what people care about. And so as we shift into Bus Planner and the use of Chipmunk, we will have for the first time a better opportunity to track all of our buses so that we can measure on-time arrival, not for a percentage, but for the overwhelming majority of our fleet. And that data will be very helpful with our continued planning.
Thank you. So I did have a couple of questions myself. First thing, I did want to acknowledge the hard work that was put into, the rollout this year. I really think you guys have done a phenomenal job in trying to attract talent. Dr. Joseph, I know that you've had like radio spots, recruiting bus drivers, so I know we've been kind of like all out, sparing no cost, trying to recruit in this very competitive market of, trying to get CDL drivers. Also want to acknowledge Mr. Sproul back there who came to my chat and show. And I think that things like that make all the difference. And that actually leads me to my question is about how often do we have those sync ups? Because I'm sure I can speak for all of my board members when I say this, we get a tremendous amount of calls and emails and text messages from our parents about the inadequacies or the challenges that they're experiencing in regard to transportation. But when you have those meetups where the parents can get in front of the staff and you guys can adjust on the fly, because everybody has a plan, but the people on the ground that is experiencing it every day, they have more insight than we have, right? And so being able to get there, like Mr. Spruill, he was able to see firsthand, like, some of the concerns people had. He was able to address it, and I don't know, whatever information or feedback he had, he could take back, and then you guys can course correct along the way. So is there, like, intended touch points with the community throughout the process and not just when it's over? So I just want to know, do you guys plan to do something like that?
So we can plan, but right now, I think a good part has been segmenting with the superintendent's listening sessions, and which folks have had that opportunity to ask everyone any question. And so that's been the form for now. If last year, prior to the start of the 24-25 year, we did the transportation town halls. And we went to every district and allowed families to come and ask questions as we talked about what that plan would look like and be like. That's something that we can kind of maybe pick up again. Our focus is really helping our schools, working with our PEAs. We are planning to work with the community school coordinators to give information for parents in the trenches, because they're coming to us asking. So that's something that we can do.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because the true goal lies with the constituent, the parent. They really know the ins and out of how their child is impacted. So even if it's not a necessarily in-person touch point, what if it's a survey that goes out to kind of talk through transportation regularly? We can collect that data and then, refine our model. I think that would be very helpful. But I want to respect the time. I want to move on to our round two, and I have Board Member Olivo.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So first of all, I was so eager to get to my questions earlier. I neglected to say thank you also for all of the hard work. I especially want to thank our drivers and our bus attendants who just do a phenomenal job under challenging circumstances. As part of that, I also wanted to thank the team for taking a look at the driver parking issue at the Bladensburg bus lot. I know that, we're trying so hard to recruit bus drivers. We also need to keep them. And, I heard directly from those staff members how challenging it is to, have to drive around that industrial area to try to find parking so that they can get to their job and drive other people. So I really appreciate your work there. The final thing, and I guess all of these are really comments, is I do want to caution as well the messaging around encouraging children to be at their bus stop and to wait potentially for a late bus versus the messaging around the importance of attendance, because those two things if the bus is really late, are really in conflict with each other. And so I just want to really caution us to be careful with, putting out a message, be at your bus stop, wait at your bus stop until the bus gets there, or we may take you off the route, because I think parents are saying, well, we've waited X amount of time, I need this, it's go time to even have a chance of getting my kid to school on time, which is also emphasized as super important. And so these two messaging of wait at your bus stop until the bus gets there, even if it's late, so you continue to have a bus stop, versus wanting our kids to be in their seats in the classroom, are really in competition with each other. So I just want to caution us on being careful with that messaging. Thank you.
And I would like to say just thank you for the appreciation that you've given to the two bus lots. They were really appreciative of the visit and the fact that you showed up early in the morning. So thank you.
Vice Chair Briggs.
Okay, thank you so much. And I had just one last question, but I also did want to, this is a kind of an aside, but really quickly just wanted to say how great of a presentation that I thought Dr. Coleman and Ms. Bowman did at the most recent legislative session, because I know that it was probably a very high pressure presentation, and I feel like they executed it just masterfully. So wanted to say that. I didn't get to say that to you both at the thing. I also wanted to say that I appreciate listing out the enrollment trends for bus utilization. Are you all anticipating any changes on the horizon with school enrollment declining. So I know that Dr. Joseph recently sent out data showing that nearly 1,500 students we're under enrolled by where we should have been. So there's a deficit. I think that was a large multilingual English language learner population. How are you considering these issues when we think about the systemic transportation needs? And do we have specific enrollment and bus utilization trends for ELL students from last year to this year that shows the kind of the decline at all?
Not directly in terms of ridership for us. It's really done by school, and we can break that down by grades, but when it comes to the categories of you're speaking, we would not have that directly. Or maybe something that we might be able to track with the help of our data accountability models, if need be.
Yeah, I don't want to put like extra burden on anybody. I just was curious to see if there was a correlation between the under enrollment and perhaps our multilingual learner students. If there is anything that's easy to access, that'd be helpful. If it is too hard, then disregard this request. Thank you.
Harry?
Thank you so much once again for taking the time to answer, all our questions. My last two questions are, so from slide 17, I wanted to ask, do the 39 routes now have an assigned vehicle? And if not, how are they getting to and from school?
Right. So all of our routes have an assigned vehicle to them. At that time, 39 routes, I think they might have been our van routes because we include them in our totals. And so we want to make sure that's associated. But every school bus trip is attached to a school bus number.
And then my final question, is there a plan in place to make sure that, the trips are evenly distributed for the inbound bus routes? Because students who are riding like the bus routes and, they're expected to stay on the bus for 90 minutes, they're having to wake up hours and hours earlier than other students who also attend the same school and, probably just have to wake up like a few minutes before the school start time.
So there is, with the parameters that we have, but we have to think about the school of attendance and where that student resides. And if it's a school of choice, the boundaries are much larger for schools of choice versus your comprehensive. And so with the number of students that are required and the available staff, that is what we kind of put in the factor of determining who rides and how long that ride time is. And so with the additional staff bringing on, we're hoping that for some of those rides that are super long, we could split them in half. But if you're coming from Akakeet and you're coming to Duval or Flowers, that's still going to be an extended ride no matter what. And so we want to keep that in perspective for our families to understand that we're going to do our best, but we do monitor that and try to minimize that ride time as much as possible.
Dr. Anderpool?
Yes, thank you. Really quickly, following up from my first questions, because I received so many recommendations about that route, that I believe part of the challenge is because the route has been picked up by another driver. So at the end of their route, they're kind of tacking on, and so it's causing the ride time to be anywhere upwards of 3 hours, apparently, for students on that route. Who can I send those recommendations to, just so that you have them for consideration?
You can send them to me.
Okay, perfect. And then my other quick question is, two. One, the TRS. I know you all get a lot of, inquiries or tickets. What can parents expect in terms of response time, realistically?
So once the parent enters in the TRS, they'll get a notification within the 24 hours to let them know that it's been received and they are assigned a ticket number. From there, we try to work it within a 48-hour time span to be able to give a response with a status or a resolution from that standpoint, since each of those are handled by case. Now, I will tell you this, a lot of our families automatically put in a bus change request. And within the first 3 days of school, we do not take a look at those because we're not really changing stops until we're stabilizing. And we won't review those primarily until the 1st of October. So if there's anything other than a stop request, we're looking at those repeatedly within that 48-hour time frame.
Okay, and for those, are you responding to parents to let them know that you're not considering, or are you just not responding?
Yes, they're getting a prepared message of that
Okay.
notice.
Okay, and my last quick question, what's the earliest time for a bus pickup in the morning? I have a parent who told me that their bus pickup is at 5:20 a.m.
That may be possible, but that's a planned time. And I'm just curious to see, I would like to know the school, if you have
It may be
that.
Duval, but I can double check for you. That might be incorrect. But of course, I'm sure, the concern is dark outside. The child is getting up at 4:30 in the morning to prepare for school. So just curious about the earliest pickup time. But I'll send you that school as well.
A lot of times, we have a parameter to be much later, but because some of the routes are computer generated, there's an audit that needs to be done to rectify those times.
Interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. I did want to follow up on my last comment about my recommendation for a survey to be sent out to engage with the parents. I think that would be helpful. But, while I was doing my rounds in the community, I did come to the Wilburn community, which this is an issue that they found is that it's crazy because I know everybody wants to get picked up on time, but there is a concern about the buses flying through their neighborhoods at very fast speeds, and it's not safe for a lot of the students that's out there in that community. The Civic Association was saying that they have reports of the bus going 15 to 20 miles over the speed limit in the area. Coming down the street, which is, crazy to have little, elementary school kids there. So I know everybody wants to get to their bus stop on time, but safety is first. So I just want to know, is there any metric on which we want to make sure the bus drivers get there, and they're trying to do their best to get there, but at the same time, safety is our priority. So is there any way that we're tracking the speed of the bus drivers as they go through these routes? And then the other question that I had is that the safe passage workers, can you talk a little bit more about that? I know that we had, Dr. Coleman may be able to speak to this. I just wanted to know a little bit more about the context on how, the roles and responsibility of the safe passage in regards to not only just safety as a whole as a school, but more specifically in regards to transportation, how many people is it? How is the duties broken out? What are they responsible? Who are they reporting to? XYZ. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. You want to answer the first part first?
Sure. The Wilmot community, we can work out. We do have a report that we can pull. We'll just need to know at what times the buses are coming through there, and we can run a report and check, and we'll follow up with drivers about their speeding. Okay.
So, and thank you so much for that question. So, as you know, the members of our team worked with the task force from the county government around pedestrian safety efforts for us as a collective. And so they developed a set of recommendations that the Safe Passage team is really responsible for PGCPS with helping to implement. So that includes determining what is going to be our metric or tool for assessing pedestrian safety for a particular area. They have conducted over 100 pedestrian safety audits at this point in the school year, this early point in the school year. So if a parent or a community member has a concern about a bus stop or a pedestrian safety area, they will actually go out, and we have 2 safe passage coordinators who will go out and make an assessment and develop those recommendations and provide them to transportation or to the school or to us to see what recommendations or what changes need to be made. We partner and meet regularly with the Department of Public Works and Transportation and State Highway Administration, because sometimes the traffic mitigation strategies are beyond PGCPS. We might need a traffic light, we might need some type of traffic calming device. And so they make that direct recommendation to the Department of Public Works and Transportation and advocate on behalf of our families.
Those are PGCPS FTEs though, yeah?
That is correct,
Right,
because the
okay.
board authorized the creation of the office. They fall under the Safety and Security Services Office, and so
Right.
they support us directly.
Right, I remember, because during the last administration when we did the Safe Passage program and the county was birthed out of that, but I didn't know like the entire scope of what they were entitled to do. So thank you for that. Are there any more comments? I don't see any more lights. All right, thank you. Moving forward to the consent agenda item. Thank you so much, gentlemen. The chair recognizes Dr. Joseph for the consent agenda items.
Thank you, Board Chair Jackson. I'm recommending that the board approve consent agenda items 15.1 through 15.12, and I'm recommending that we postpone voting on item 15.13 until our October board meeting.
Thank you. Board members, would you like to pull any other agenda items for discussion under the general orders? And also note that pulling an item does not denote a no, it indicates a desire to discuss further. Chair, Vice Chair?
Yeah, Chair Jackson, I just had one question for item 15.12.
Okay, you wanted to pull that?
Yeah, I'd like to pull that.
Okay, thank you. So 15.12 will go under the general, I think it's already actually under there, isn't it? General orders. Any more questions? Okay, if there is no objection, the consent agenda items 15.1 through 15.11 will be adopted, and 15.13 will be postponed until next board meeting. There being no objection, the consent agenda items 15.1 through 15.11 are adopted, and 15.13 will be postponed to the next board meeting. Moving on to unfinished business. There's no unfinished business. All right, now we can go over 15.12.
Okay, thank you so much. I just had a really quick question. I'm not sure, I'm just going to pose it to Dr. Joseph because I'm not sure who to pose it to. Under item 15.12, it says fiscal year 2026 financial approved budget reconciliation. It says in there, the costs associated with these revenue decreases will be removed to balance the budget. As a result, other instructional costs will be reduced by $2 million. I was just curious to know if we had any idea of what instructional costs will be reduced.
I'll turn it over to Chief Howell to address that.
Good evening. The reduction that you see is related to the funding that's for our private pre-K providers. So there's a state share and there's a local share. So the revenue that you see, that funding is, or the payment for the private providers is going directly to the private providers from the county. So we previously had the revenue in our budget as well as that pass-through payment in our budget. So now the county is going to make the payment directly to the private providers. So the revenue is coming out and then the expense is coming out. So that's what you see there.
Okay, thank you so much, Chief Howell.
Is there any more comments or questions about 15.12? Alrighty, if there are no objections, agenda item 15.12 will be adopted. Moving on to new business. Is there any new business? Alrighty, we want to thank you all for joining us for tonight's meeting. To our online viewers, thank you for watching. There being no further business, the time is now 9:24, the September 25th, 2025.